Folks, what in the world did we just witness in Shreveport, Louisiana? What in the world was that? Right now, in the year number 150 of college football, we see all sorts of celebrations and documentaries commemorating the 150th year of college football. One of those documentaries in particular, and one of the lists that we see on a regular basis, commemorates the 150 top games of all time. I've looked at the list. Many of those games go back to 1920, 25, in that range. And you see scores like 6-0 and 10-0 and 2-0 and 6-2 and 14-0. Is there going to be another team in college football that is going to get shut out in a bowl game? We have 41 bowl games to play. We've already played 7 or 8 of them, at least. I think actually this is bowl game number 11. And this is the first shutout we've seen. And this may be the only team that we see shut out. And this is just not Miami being shut out by an excellent team. All due respect given to Louisiana Tech for finishing with 10 wins this season and winning a bowl game and playing in Conference USA. But that's exactly the point. They play in Conference USA. They played one Power 5 team this year, and they lost by 31 points to Texas, a Texas team that was 7-5. This is deplorable. It's unbelievable that Miami, again, didn't just lose to Louisiana Tech, because Vegas had a beat on this game to a certain extent. Miami was only a 6-point favorite. And if you checked out my bold predictions, you know that I picked not only Louisiana Tech to cover the spread, I picked the Bulldogs to win the game. And they won it 14-0. And there needs to be some consideration given to Miami missing a number of really good players in this game. Jonathan Garvin didn't play. DJ Dallas didn't play. Jeff Thomas did not play. A number of other, Michael Pinckney didn't play, probably Miami's best linebacker. So Miami was missing its best players. But if you take any good team, not great team, good team in the Power 5 and strip away 5 to 6 of their best players, not their very best. I don't know that Jeff Thomas is the best wide receiver for Miami. He's the most explosive. I don't know. He's not the most productive. But Miami could not score a point in this game. Miami has a roster that was recruited from either at the top level 8th in the nation down to 22nd in the nation, I believe, is the low mark of the 4 teams, the 4 recruiting classes on this roster. Louisiana Tech doesn't recruit anywhere close to that. This is like a top 75 or 80, 85 roster in the country. Louisiana Tech just beat Miami 14-0. Would love to get your comments. And of course, I will have the phone lines open. Full disclosure here, I saw probably half the game. So the game kicked off at 4 o'clock Eastern time. I had to work until 5:30. I was en route home until about 6:15. So I watched a little bit of the game at work. I saw Louisiana Tech's scoring drive. I saw Tate Martell's ill-fated one. I believe it was just the one series. I saw Jaron Williams' futile attempt at throwing the ball downfield. He usually checked down and threw it underneath. I saw Miami's defense play reasonably well, but not in dominant fashion, but they played reasonably well, missing a couple of their best players, 3 of their best players. Jonathan Garvin, Trayvon Hill missed the game, and Michael Pinckney. And then I recorded a couple segments that you will see in the next couple days on Clemson and Ohio State. So I didn't see. I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch this game later tonight. Play after play after play after miserable play after boring, miserable play of a 14-0 game. But this is what I do right here at the Voice of College Football. I will watch every play of this game and I will give my personal instant analysis. The reason we're here is I will give my overall perspective on Miami football right now, but I want to hear from you. And we've got 42 comments in the chat. So let's get to it. And of course, the phone lines are open right there at 860-325-3687. 860-325-3687. But I would like to go to the comments. So we've got Fred on the line. Good to see you, Fred. We haven't seen you for quite some time, so it's good to see you here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. JT Sports, I think, laughing at what we just witnessed here. And we've got a call coming in.
The call will start at the beep.
All right. Hey, it's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
This is Tony. Is this the real Mark Rogers?
This is me. Is this the real Tony?
Mark Rogers. This is the real Tony. Mark Rogers. I listen to you on YouTube on a weekly basis. You do a fantastic job of covering Miami football with Cam. My take. Something has to change, man.
Yeah.
Something has to change. Whether it's the report that Enos is out. Offensive line can't run block. They did a pretty good job pass blocking for the most part tonight. But if you can't run block, you can't do anything. And I also don't believe that we have top-end talent on the outside of Jeff Thomas. Our receivers are not very good. They can't get open. They can't beat man-to-man coverage. And a lot of our fans are saying, good riddance, Lawrence Cager. We needed Lawrence Cager this year. We don't have any big body receivers. They're all small guys who can't beat man-to-man press coverage. Our tight ends are fabulous, but they spend more time blocking than going out to catch passes because we got a left tackle who never played left tackle before starting Division I football, and Skate is a guard. So hopefully these guys that we just recruited will help. Our running backs are unreal, but they can't run if they have no room to run. Enos if he doesn't go, then something needs to change. I'm not against Manny as a coach because the defense plays hard. So if they play hard, that's a reflection on the team. But the offensive side of the ball is not coached well. And something has to change. And my solution as a Canes fan since I was 10 years old is James Coley out of Georgia. Bring him back and let him choose his offensive staff. And because with Stephen Morris and N'Kosi Perry have equal arm talent. So imagine what he could be in James Coley's offense. And think about what Stephen Morris did. And he can recruit South Florida. So I'm gonna let you go. And I just had to call in. I'm a big fan of yours. You keep doing what you're doing. I don't care about any other program but Miami, so I do have you. I am a subscriber to your Miami channel. You keep doing what you're doing, man. And I'll talk to you whenever I can.
I so much appreciate the phone call.
Okay.
You have a good night.
Okay. You too.
So a lot of sensible comments right there from a Canes fan that's under control, that realizes what the situation is. And yes, Danny Enos, despite what has been really well recruited talent, as I take care of one thing online, and then we'll be all set. You would think that, yeah, he is coached his last game at Miami, not meaning Manny Diaz, Dan Enos. I would keep Manny Diaz if I was running the show at Miami. I would like to see what he could do with a different staff and a few changes here and there. I don't think this spells the end for Manny Diaz. It's disappointing considering the schedule, and they just played a group of 5 team and not a dominant group of 5. They just didn't play Memphis or Cincinnati or Boise State. They played Louisiana Tech, who had a really nice season. They went 6-2 in Conference USA. They beat FIU, but they played one Power 5 this year, and they lost to Texas by 31 points, and not a stellar Texas team that went 7-5. Again, I want to be fair to Miami that they were missing some of their best players, but plug in the team across the board in any of the major conferences that are near the top status. And I'm not just talking Ohio State and Clemson and those teams, but you talk about the really good teams across the country. If this was Utah playing or Oregon playing, or if this was Wisconsin and you took 4 or 5 of their best players, they would still go out there and beat Louisiana Tech by 3 touchdowns. So the program's not in a great place right now, but they continue to bring in a semblance of talent. They're in a great location. They've got a brand that still resonates with a lot of young people, and they can right this ship rather quickly. It can be done. They're again in a perfect location to do so, in a perfect state. And they have a lot of things going for them, and they play in the weakest division in college football. They should be able to turn this around. I will get to the super chat in just a second. I appreciate the contribution from somebody up there, but I'm trying to make my way through the various comments. Mike Williams looking for some breaking news on Sunday. I think we'll get that. I don't know that it's going to be the breaking news from the top, the breaking news from the offensive side of the ball with Dan Enos. The defense didn't play that horribly. Didn't play great, but they didn't play horribly. They were put in a bad situation most of the game after just getting off the field, having to go right back out onto the field. And they were missing 2 of their best defensive linemen, and also missing, of course, probably their best linebacker. What would be the opinion of you Miami fans between Shaq Quarterman and Michael Pinckney? I think Pinckney's been a better player this year. Got Michael Love on the line. Good to see him. We got Justin on the line. As a Gators fan, Miami even missing those players should still beat Louisiana Tech. Absolutely. This is coaching. Manny's lost that locker room. We saw the game, Noel-blooded. We saw the game. That shouldn't happen, but it didn't surprise me. As I mentioned, I picked Louisiana Tech to win the game outright, and I'm no genius. I'm not saying that because I'm a genius. I'm just saying that I didn't even – I thought about it. I gave it some thought, and I weighed some things, and I looked at Louisiana Tech's personnel and what they do well and what they don't do well. A few things added up that Louisiana Tech – was 3rd in the nation in red zone defense. So again, they're playing inferior opponents doing that, but they still, that made some level of statement for me. And there were a couple metrics that really added up for Louisiana Tech in this one. And maybe the metric that you're all thinking about is just Dan Enos calling the plays. Here's a good point by Justin right there. Feeling bad for the seniors that were busting their ass to go out there and play, and that's what they put on the line. It's unlike any other. It's unlike any other industry because there's a winner and a loser, and that's what they're judged by. And one team had to walk off the field tonight, as in every game, and be deemed a quote unquote failure because they failed to accomplish the mission, which is win the game. But there are a number of seniors. I don't know how many on the Miami team, but a pretty good number of seniors that just didn't go out well and didn't complete their careers the way they had envisioned. So for those seniors like a Shaq Quarterman, for example, they came into this program in 2016 with a lot of hope. That was the first year under Mark Richt. They won their final 4 games of the season. They beat West Virginia in a bowl game, winning its first bowl game since 2007. And they finished at 9-4 and finished in the top 25 in the country. And then they roll into 2017. They win the first 10 games. They weren't pretty, but they won the first 10 games. They were sitting at number 2 in the country. Then it fell apart. But still, even though it fell apart, they only got rolled in 1 game, and that was against Clemson in the ACC championship game. The other games were close. They lost to Wisconsin, but it was a good game, competitive game in the Orange Bowl. They lost to Pitt and Kenny Pickett. Of course, that was the game that knocked them from 10-0. But still, 9-4 under Mark Richt, then 10-3, couple top 25 finishes. I think number 13 after winning 10 games in 2017. It all looked good. And then they had the 8th ranked recruiting class. And this is where it slid. Mark Richt aligning with his son, calling the plays, or being the quarterback's coach. And that's when it all unraveled, and they had the bad 2018 and lost a bunch of games that they should have won, coming off of 10-3, in which they were the heavy favorite to win the Coastal. And ever since then, this is what we've gotten. Now they hire an inexperienced coach, but that's not necessarily a knock on Manny Diaz or a knock on the administration for hiring him. Lincoln Riley, Dabo Sweeney, Clay Helton, Ryan Day. We could go on down the line of coaches that had no head coaching experience, especially in the Power Five. Tom Herman, and were hired at big-time programs and are doing the job. So we see this on a regular basis. So the number, once again, here is 860-325-3687. So I stated this off the top, but we didn't have 159 on the line at the time. We just had a handful of people on the line. So I was at work, saw bits and pieces of the first half, came back here home, didn't catch much of the second half. I saw enough to see N'Kosi Perry and see, I saw all the quarterbacks, and we've got a call coming in. I am going to watch every play of this game later and give my analysis on a video later tonight, but I wanted to hear from you, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, who's on the line.
Hey, what's going on, Mark Rogers? It's nice to finally talk to you. Long-time watcher. This is Hurricane Logan in the chat.
Yes, sir. Hurricane Logan. Good to hear from you. I'm sorry that the first time we get to talk, it's under these circumstances, but I so much appreciate your kind comments and your support.
Yeah, I appreciate everything you do, too, between Miami and just all around college football. You do a great job. Very positive. You have good content. But honestly, getting onto the game, and I don't know. I mean, I'm really invested, and I do breakdowns. I've watched each game, as painful as most of it was because how bad the season was. I've watched each game at least three times this year. And one thing I can say right now is the biggest problem at Miami is we don't have a quarterback. And the reason I'm saying that, and people sit there and they slam Manny for it, and I'm going to obviously let you speak too, but people slam Manny because he didn't announce starting quarterback. Well, it's week 13 in a bowl game, and we just played 3 different quarterbacks. If we had one, would we be doing that? No. So there's a reason that comes into play. I don't think people understand it, and there's no way you guys can sit there, and I'm sure you watched the game, and sit there and say that, it's all Enos, because I've been very critical of Enos, and I want him gone, and I've heard he's gone, and I hope he is. But tonight, the play calling wasn't atrocious, and the pass blocking on the offensive line was nice. The quarterbacks were all bad, and the run blocking on the O-line was pretty bad. But tonight made me open my eyes and have hope that Tyler Van Dyke comes in and can just make throws, because we have a guy who can't. He overthrows slants, underthrows slants, throws balls behind the guy. Like, quarterback is a big, big problem for this team. It is. And it has been. I mean, our last decent quarterback, pretty good quarterback actually, was Brad Kaya. And then before that, it was Dorsey.
Yeah, so what I find baffling is that all 3 of these guys were rated high coming out of high school. They were either 5 stars in Tate Martell's case, but more of a runner, and the other 2 were high 4 stars. That the odds say that, and I made this statement during the entire offseason, that the odds say that if the coaching's good and they can develop a quarterback, that one of these 3 guys will hit, at least one of them, if not, that the backup will be even really good. When you've got 3, 4, and 5-star quarterbacks and none of them develop into anything, I think that's a coaching issue as well.
Right. Yeah. So I'm definitely 100% agree with you, because I'm in the military. I'm home for the first time in the year, and me and my pops are watching the game, and he's very sold on quarterbacks are the issue, which I do agree with. But of course, I say the same thing that you just said is, well, Dad, who develops our quarterbacks? You know what I'm saying? And I hold Enos accountable to a sense, but people like Perry, I can't sit there and say Mark Richt's son, I believe, was not a good quarterback coach, or was a good quarterback coach, because he wasn't. He shouldn't even been coaching our quarterbacks. But the point is we've seen, Jaron and even Perry against Virginia Tech. We've seen Jaron against Pittsburgh, and the guy who we saw against Louisville. We've seen that quarterback and that it's there and it's possible. But the biggest problem is the consistency is not there. It's not there. It's non-existent. And that's the biggest problem. FIU scored 31 on Louisiana Tech. We couldn't put up a point. And the biggest thing that I'm upset about, and I'm just a fan, so I can speak my mind, but I'm not saying I have all the answers, but why are we sitting there running up the middle when we have no run game? Though we had some decent runs, and they were when we sat there and tossed it to the outside and gave our guys space. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that is things that's a head scratcher with the play calling, and then again with the under center play actions and stuff like that. When we have no run game, I don't understand why you're calling a play action, if that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. If you don't have a run game, you don't call play action. Give your guy in the shotgun, let him roll, and try and make a play. And it literally showed. And our quarterbacks didn't play good. They weren't accurate, but that was a better scenario to at least put them in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no reason if the defense doesn't have to respect the run to have the quarterback turn his back on the defense for a second and a half to play out a play action fake, especially when the offensive line isn't very good. But in this game, the pass blocking was decent.
Yeah, I think the pass blocking was definitely good. It was better than our quarterback play. I mean, our quarterbacks had a lot of time and I don't understand some of the interception Perry threw at almost the end of the game. I had no idea what was he even looking at? What were you going for on that play? It's stuff like that. And and Perry did not have time, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I think I'm really hoping, because I'm not saying out of high school, Perry, Jaron, these guys, they were talented, they were good. What I'm hoping with Tyler Van Dyke is his high school talent comes onto the college football field, because it didn't with these guys, And I listened to the interview on, I think it was Joe Rose, TVD even came in and said, I'm coming in to take their job. I'm coming in to start. And, that's a good mentality, but, we're not going to know. But personally, as a Miami fan, I'm glad the season's over, because between the anger and just being upset, it's just, it was too much. And tonight really showed it was too much. And you could tell kind of, I think, more on the offensive side of the ball that guys just didn't want to be out there. They had no motivation. They had no heart. Who on offense was sitting there grabbing somebody, or on the team, let alone, and just grabbing somebody and say, hey, make a play, step up, fire up. You know what I'm saying? None of that was there with the players and the coaches, and that's on both sides. But, and then there's another thing to look at too, is you look at, so we all remember how Sam Brooks played. We barely got to see him. I think it was Bethune-Cookman, but I think he led the team in tackles, and then he came in this game, and he had youth mistakes that we saw, a couple busted tackles, blown coverages more specifically. But Brooks had a solid game. He had tackles. He was in there. He was making plays. And it's just that goes back on the staff. Is why are you not playing these guys? We still know nothing about Jeremiah Payton and people like that, because we haven't let them see the field. Rousseau missed the first 4 games, and look at who he is now. You know what I mean? That's just something that it's all one thing. It all boils into one thing. It's not like it's Enos is the problem. If we had Kendall Briles, we'd win a championship. If you think that, you're insane as a fan or anybody. But it's just tonight was really rough for me, man. Oh my goodness, it was rough. I can't believe what I saw to get shut out against LA Tech. We ain't been shut out since Clemson, and the last bowl shutout we had was 1994 against Arizona State in the Fiesta Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's just seeing stuff like that, it's very frustrating. And that's LA Tech, man. It's not even Florida who we didn't get shut out by. And you sit there at the beginning of the season, your offense looked better than it does at the end of the season, and you're playing LA Tech and not Florida. It's just a head scratcher, man.
Yeah, it's almost disappointing from both levels. If you want to buy into the fact that the team gave up and didn't show up and didn't want to play, I can totally see that to a certain extent. But, how many teams in this country would be able to show up against Louisiana Tech and not give much of an effort and still win the game? If pick your team. I won't even go to the top rung, but pick your team like a Texas or Michigan or somebody like that. They could roll their helmets out there and beat Louisiana Tech by a couple touchdowns easily, not playing with much effort. So there's a talent deficiency, but then there's also some kind of culture problem where they just don't show up and play these games. Everybody who wanted to watch college football this afternoon was watching this game. So I make this statement from time to time for people that don't buy into bowl games and feel that they're like exhibitions. And I get that point, but a lot of people watched Miami football. I don't know how a team doesn't get motivated when the entire nation's watching them because that's the only game on. I would think that would be big motivation to play well, that the nation's playing it. It's holiday season, it's bowl season. If somebody wants to watch, the Florida State game had like 8 games on versus it for other people to be watching other games, but everybody's watching Miami football right now that wants to watch any football. They just watch Miami not score a point against a group of 5 team.
I agree. And that goes back into exactly what you were saying is Miami's Miami. People always watch us. Usually, I'm talking not from a Miami fan perspective. People are always watching us because they want to sit there and criticize. And it's Miami. I got it. But one thing to go on with what you're saying is Twitter is one of the biggest social media networks. And out of the 10 things that top trending in the world on Twitter, 4 of them were Miami. It was Dan Enos, Manny Diaz, the U, and I think it was Tate. And that just goes to speak like people are watching. People pay attention to it, and just like you said, I don't understand how you can't get fired up. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I think that goes back to the culture that Manny's trying to change. I mean, this all falls into place, and I don't think people understand it, and that's why I talk about it. I don't get put on the platform to talk about it, but I do understand. I'm not a negative guy who slams the team. I don't like going at players because they're kids and they get coached by guys who get paid and they're supposed to be professionals. But this goes into the 2020 class. They all have their own group chat. I mean, we signed everybody who was committed except for a select few that I'm not going to get into that. But we kept guys who wanted to be at Miami. You know what I'm saying? And that has hope. I'm not on the fire Manny Diaz train, but I'm on, can we get a quarterback and can we get a better spread OC? I'm on that train 100%. But I'm not all for firing a coach. Miami's biggest problem has been firing a coach every 2 to 3 years, and then you got kids who go through sometimes 2 to 3 systems in their whole career at Miami. That's wrong. You can't do that. But I am on the board of Dan Enos being fired because, and from what I know he's gone after this. But the reason why I think it's not okay is because now the kids have to learn a new system. But then I am okay with it because they've done nothing in the system that he's presented. We've regressed under Dan Enos, and we look worse than we did with MarkRogersTV's offense, who had no motion, no audible, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? We still have no audible. I think we have a little more motion. That's what this offense is. It's a worse offense with motion, really.
I know. It's tough to watch. A team in this day and age not scoring a point in a football game. That there aren't many shutouts pitched over the entire season in college football these days.
Yeah.
Let alone by a group of 5 against a Power 5 team that was a touchdown favorite. It's just I made this comment a couple of weeks ago after it just kind of hit me that Miami was the only team in the country that lost 3 games in which they were at least a 14-point favorite.
Right. I hope. I mean, my take. I don't want to be on here forever. I don't know how long you allow your callers or anything, but my take is if we get a good quarterback, it'll be a lot better. And if we get an offensive coordinator that knows the talent he has on offense and puts him in the best scenarios, it's going to be even more better with those 2 things, right? And one thing that I'll say that I'm still sold on is I think Manny Diaz was a little fooled by Dan Enos because Dan Enos wasn't calling plays at Bama. Bama was going to promote him and let him be the OC, and Georgia wanted him, and we stole him, and it was like, yo, we just stole. I mean, it's Georgia and Bama. Those are good teams. They're relevant more than we are. You know what I'm saying? So it was good at the moment, but I mean, this goes back into does Dan Enos even belong in Miami? Does Butch Berry belong in Miami? And this is from a recruiting perspective. You know what I'm saying? Dan Enos never went into Dade County. He went into Broward and stuff like that. So stuff like that is something that goes into perspective too. And then you look at the offensive line recruiting, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And the only picture with Dan Enos was with Tyler Van Dyke. Other than that, it was nobody on offense. It's just we need to get guys who are going to go in and go recruit in those areas that we know that we need, and it's going to be good for our football team, because that's what made us great back in the day, and it still works to this day. You don't need to recruit divas who are already gifted and just want to wear the U on them because it's the U and they look cool or whatever. You need to recruit guys who want to be there and compete and play football. And if they don't start, they're still going to sit there and root their guys and still play their hardest. Those are the guys we need, and we don't have that. We don't have that. Miami does not have guys who are going to sit there and say, you know what, so-and-so starting, I'm going to sit there and still play 100% and compete in practice and do my best. We don't have those guys. At one point, we had 3 running backs who are all great in the NFL, and 2 of them were backups. Sean Taylor backed up somebody, and look at who he was. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm not mad. I don't need a Kleenex, Uncle Lou. Shush.
Hurricane Logan, laying it down. I think you've had a lot of good things to say in regards to what needs to get cleaned up. And we've had about 4 or 5 other people call, so I'd like to get to those calls as well.
Of course. I just want to say thank you for the 15 minutes, and I appreciate everything you do, man. You do a lot for college football overall, and as bad as Miami has been, you've been pretty respectful on evaluating our season. So just thanks for everything, and I appreciate my first call with you. Take care.
Thanks, Hurricane Logan. Take care, man. So for those of you that were calling in during that conversation, please call back. The number's on the line. Thank you, Jay Jobs. Appreciate that. 860-325-3687. But hold your call because we got one coming in right now. So which one do I hold and which one do I accept? Boy, the roulette wheel.
The call will start at the beep.
Here we go. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hello, good evening, Mark Rogers, man. Finally, great to get a chance to speak with you. This is J-Love T.
J-Love, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, brother. Doing great, man. I'm sad, but I'm doing great, man. I just got a couple responses for Hurricane Logan and for Hurricane Nation. Since you guys are not going to do it, I'm going to do it for you. The quarterback position has been horrendous, especially Jaron Williams. He lost to FIU. Today, he mostly lost to Louisiana Tech because we can't put that on the coaching. People wanted to see Martell. Nothing worked. We have the talent. It's just the quarterback position. When Jaron Williams opened his mouth in the wintertime and threatened to transfer, then put himself on the field and did not compete to the standard that the pressure that he put himself in, that's his business. This season, I don't care if these are little kids. You open your mouth when you're not supposed to open your mouth. That's it. That's your business. Okay, the O-line didn't play well. Oh well. I don't know what's the reason. The only thing I do agree with, and I think on Mark Rogers, someone gave you a shout out about it, because I think you guys had a conversation with it, about Manny Diaz, giving Manny Diaz 6 years. We have no choice. You're right. I'm not going to lie. You're right. There's only 2 people that can take Manny's job. That's Urban Meyer. He's not going to come here. We can even pay him $10 million a year. Hello? Can you hear me?
I got you. I'm listening.
Hello? Yes. Urban Meyer, he's not coming here. We can even pay him $10 million. He's not coming here. Or Mario Cristobal. And it's looking like Mario is not going to leave Oregon. There's no way. The only reason now it's even a chance to get Mario is because of how much he's getting paid. But I feel like they're going to double or triple his salary. They have to. That's the only reason why we can even entertain that. But Hurricane fans, until we get better, until the quarterback situation gets handled better, we're stuck with Manny. There's nobody else that can replace him. I'm sorry. And people blaming the offensive line. Hey, we knew about this last year. That's the issue. This is nothing new. We suck at red zone offense. last year. We suck on the offensive line last year. I mean, what else is there?
Yeah, so some of these issues are definitely coaching issues. There's no question about that. I'm not speaking any kind of revelation here, because when you're consistently, and this is carried over from the Richt era now into the Manny Diaz era, because Richt, this will always mystify me. He could have had a good run at Miami if he would have made reasonable decisions in terms of where he was going to place his offense into what hands, but he didn't do that. He's a good CEO. He could have ran this program. He could have won 10 games there for the next decade if he really wanted to, but his allegiances betrayed him. But over these last few years, they've been consistently awful in the red zone offensively, and they've been awful on third down. And that's when play calling is most important. I made the statement a few weeks ago that play calling is overrated, and I truly believe that. That doesn't mean it's not important. I was just making the statement that really talented teams, if they're coached well and they execute the plays, can run just about any plays. Now, when the talent's even, yes, you need the play calling to scheme against the defense. That's when your coaches come into play, when there's an even talent on both sides of the field. But when you're consistently awful on third down and you're consistently awful in the red zone offensively, that speaks to play calling.
Facts.
And they've been in the bottom 10 in the country in both categories the last 2 years.
The last 2 years.
Yep.
I mean, as a Hurricane fan, I'm done with this decade. I said it a couple weeks ago in your show, and thank you for calling it out for me. I'm done with this decade. All four coaches were, well, I'm going to say, can't count Manny. Well, all three coaches were stubborn. All three coaches. From Golden, he didn't want to fire his brother-in-law. With Mark, he came in. All he had to do was get a new defensive coordinator, keep things cozy, and then keep everything the same, because Brad Carter was the second overall pick on the mock draft, where he changed the system on him. And now let's see what Manny can do. But for everybody saying, "Oh, fire Manny," listen, the day we hired him back from Temple. And remember now, the only reason why people are extra mad that Manny's here is because we paid an extra $4 million for him to get back here. So the $4 million that he makes this year plus the $4 million on top that we paid to get him back, in total $8 million, we're paying for it. So we're stuck with Manny. I'm being realistic with everybody. Everybody keeps saying fire Manny. Believe it or not, Manny's gonna get his time. He's gonna get 6 years. And the only reason why there is, like I said, the only reason why there is a chance that people can entertain higher Cristobal is because he's getting paid crumbs at Oregon. Once Oregon gives him that extension, it will be the same way it's impossible to get Urban Meyer, it's impossible to get Mario Cristobal. But have a blessed one, Mark Rogers, and thank you for your time.
Jay Love, we appreciate your support. Thank you so much for calling. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We got 250 on the line. Good to see following Miami's loss to Louisiana Tech. I did not predict a shutout. I did pick the Bulldogs to win, and obviously took the 6 points as well. So had this been previous years, I would have won a bundle, but I've refrained from doing that this year. Just haven't taken the time to put my money where my mouth is. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hello, Mark Rogers. I've been following you for a long time. I just been watching the game, and so I have a lot to say about what's going on.
Okay. Hopefully we can hear you fairly well. I'm going to let the people in the chat room just let us know how well, because I want people to be able to hear you.
Let me know if it's going good.
Okay. Well, let's hear what you've got to say about tonight's game.
First of all, been a diehard Miami fan from Miami, from the city, and it's just putrid, pathetic. First thing, it's not really the quarterback. I would say the whole line has given any quarterback. You look at this game and you see Darren, you see Tate, and you see Nkosi. You see that them boys have zero time in the pocket. Tate scrambling around on his first possession, looking around like a chicken with his head cut off. I'm thinking to myself, what can go wrong from Florida losing 20 to 24 to dropping FIU, Louisiana Tech, and Duke, when we beat Virginia. Virginia plays for the ACC championship. Pittsburgh, they're playing right now. It's just a lot. Honestly, everybody's happy. Celebrate. Everybody raise their hands. Then, she's gone. We can't, we have to celebrate. But then, offense, he came in there. I remember in the beginning, the preseason, he had all these pre-snap motions, and everybody was clapping, giving him a hand down and a hand up, and saying, Dan Enos is our savior. And me personally, I believed it. I knew it was great. I said, this man came from a system of Alabama where winning is a culture and it's established. And he's going to come over here and he's going to bring that to us. We could have easily run a spread. Could have easily. Jared Wayne has a skill set. He has a skill set. I'm not calling him and comparing him to Tua. I'm not comparing him to Jalen Hurts, but we definitely have the athletes and we definitely have the space for the O-line, a lack of wanting to go out and win. We go out and we play these games, these meaningless games, and we go out there and we lay a goose egg. But when prime time comes, and Virginia comes, and Pittsburgh comes, and Louisville comes, you want to turn it up and run it up and have a good time? Where's the consistency? Where's Manny at? Where's the consistency at? What is he doing? Really, what is he doing, honestly? Them boys keep lying 12 for anybody. I would say front to back, and you've seen the game. Our defense, amazing. Our defense held them to 7 points until the last garbage time touchdown. So what are we doing? What are we going to do as far as our defense? Enos has to go. We're not getting crystal ball. I was looking at him. Crystal ball, we had a chance. We blew it. Crystal ball. So now we have to look at OCs that's going to come in and formulate a system. Then Dyke, honestly, humbles everybody. I'm excited because what was our quarterback doing? We had this big quarterback race and this big hype show. We had this saying who's going to be the next QB1. None of them. He went out there for 5 minutes and showed nothing. This is a 5-star. I've been watching and my phone recruiting to do that Bishop Gordon. He has a skill set to where, honestly, we should have just put him in the beginning of the year because our offensive line was so putrid, it's so garbage, that we didn't even give them boys 3 seconds before 60, 7, 8 defensive players in their face. Let me know if I have total line yet.
Well, we appreciate the phone call. Yeah, a number of people are there. There's just the it's a bit rough in terms of the connection. I think I got most of your points, but the folks online I don't think can hear it very well. But you are welcome. You're welcome to hang up and call back. You're welcome to call back because sometimes that corrects that.
Okay.
But I appreciate the call.
No problem.
All right. Yeah, it was. So I could not see your comments that were responding to the phone call because then when I do that, see, this is the deal. I want to get as many good comments from the live stream onto the screen that I can. But if I go up and I catch up with the live stream, then I'm going to lose all those comments and I'm not able to go back and retrieve them, if that makes any sense. So that's why I refrain from doing that. And we'll just take another phone call and we'll see who this is. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Mark Rogers, this is the voice of college football again.
Hey, what's going on?
This is Tony again.
Tony, okay, you gave us another shot.
I've been listening. I have a list. You're gonna be my punch bag tonight.
Oh boy!
Every
All
time
right,
I call,
I can take it.
I gotta go to my car because my wife is gonna go off on me. So I'm keying in and I'm gonna have a seat and I'm gonna talk about what those guys just talked about. If I can remember everything that they said. First of all, I'm a calm Miami fan on the phone, so I'll stay calm. For somebody to say it's not the quarterback play is insane. It is the quarterback play. but quarterbacks need to be developed. Like you said, we have 4-star recruits. When Coach Perry's the number 2 rated dual threat quarterback coming out. Jaron Williams was an 11 guy. So that's not the excuse. The fact is we have a quarterback guru who doesn't really. He's a great quarterbacks coach, but he can't call plays. If you look at our quarterbacks, they have very, very good mechanics, but he doesn't call plays well. I mean, it's atrocious, and he lost confidence in himself calling plays. And for someone to say that Manny has to go as the culture, those guys played hard. That defense plays hard. So if the defense plays hard, then to me that's the heartbeat of the if the offense is the offense has to play hard. They've got to try to get open. They've got to try to block guys. But defense can nail it in. And you didn't see this season, not in all those awful offensive performances, you never saw that defense nail it in. They played hard. I believe that our issue. Oh, and by the way, Miami has a history of being bad under sanction. Okay, after Craig Erickson, Butch Davis had awful teams because of sanction. Al Golden had talent, but he had no depth because of sanction. These teams have Mark Richt last year, and this team, they have no excuses. There are no sanctions. That is just poor coaching on the offensive side of the ball. That's poor coaching. And the only way to get that turned around is to change those leaders in those rooms. That goes from the offensive coordinator to the lines coach. I keep the running backs coach. I get rid of the receivers coach because those guys. The one thing that the guy said, and 2 calls ago, was Peyton. Why did we not play Peyton, and why did Hightower not get a chance before he decided to transfer? We're playing, and Jeff Thomas didn't get a lot of balls, so we're throwing to KJ Osborne. Who's a solid guy. He's solid, but he can't be one-on-one coverage. Neither can Harley. Harley's a Braxton Berrios type, but he doesn't have the knack that Braxton Berrios has to get open. So it's not. I don't believe it's Manny. I believe it's the preparation of the offensive side of the ball. That's what I think it is. And I'm just glad. Also, I'll keep going until you tell me I gotta go. I'm glad that we have 18 recruits signed on paper because we can grab another 7 guys and develop them, or a guy that says, you know what, I can go there and play. And I see all the young talent that's on that football team. We have and our defense plays lights out. Al Blade gave up a couple of balls, but 3 balls in a whole football game is pretty good. Those are pretty good odds. I think our defense plays lights out. It's just the same thing again. The offense just can't do anything. So for anybody to say that Manny should be fired, they're emotional. Because if you look at the core, look at look at effort. Because effort, I mean, you can't hide lack of effort. You look at that defense, they played hard. You look at the offense, they tried. We don't have top-end talent on the perimeter outside of Jeff Thomas, unless the guys who have been sitting and transferring because they don't get a chance have that talent. But they can't. They're not getting on the field, so we don't know. So I just hope that we go back to Dennis Erickson in the early '90s and just throw the football all over the place and just be revolutionary. Somebody can come in there and we're one of the original air raids in the early '90s up until Erickson went to the Seahawks. So get back to find the air raid coach and throw the ball all over the place, and get South Florida receivers and get a quarterback, scout a globe to get a quarterback, and get measurable guys on the offensive line. Long arms, you can put weight on them and develop them. We need an offensive coordinator who can develop, who has a good scheme, and we need an offensive line coach who can develop guys with measurables. That is the biggest problem with really every college football team in the country. The difference in Miami is that we got receivers hanging off of trees, man. We got receivers hanging, and you can walk down the street and turn left and there's a receiver or a running back. He has a great lineman. We need to get linemen with length. I don't care where you get them from, and get a quarterback that can sling it all over the place, preferably a dual threat. Firing Manning is not the answer. And for someone to say also that we won't fire him because of $8 million is not true. I think that if Manning has a bad year next year, he's out of there. He's out of there because they're not going to – because they can say tuition drives income all they want to, but that television contract does, and those bowl checks and the season tickets do. So he's going to be out of there. But I don't think that it'll happen. I think he'll make the right choice and get the right guy, and we'll have fun watching Miami offense next year. Hopefully, that's my wish. I might call back again tonight. I got to go back in. Keep doing your thing, man. You're awesome. Have a good night.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for the call.
All right. Bye.
All right, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, following Miami's loss to Louisiana Tech 14-0, which further cements my view on the ACC. It's only one football game, but it is still an ACC team that went 4-4 in the conference, so they proved capable of beating teams within the conference at least half the time. And the other games, Miami never was destroyed by anyone. So this is actually probably a better than average ACC team that went and lost by 14-0 against Louisiana Tech. And now we've got a game against Pitt and Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan's up 3-0. They have a shot to make it 10-0. So do not look at bowl records. When we're evaluating conferences this year, we're going to do it the right way here. You guys know that. We'll do it the right way. We'll actually look at the competition. And when the ACC plays teams like Louisiana Tech and Eastern Michigan and Temple in bowl games, you can't weigh that against the teams that the SEC or the Big Ten plays. It's not even comparable. All right. You guys want to talk Miami football, of course. Any Louisiana Tech fans out there? I don't think so. So unfortunately, if you don't have a good connection, and I apologize because I don't have the best setup here, and we're going to work on that and have in the past. But when I don't have a good call, a good clean connection from the caller, then obviously people lose interest and drop off the line, and we hit a high of 250, and then we drop down to like 190 when we had some bad connections there. So I will have to let those go in the future. I'm going to subject myself to Miami and Louisiana Tech a second time and watch all the plays and give my analysis because I hear some conflicting views on quarterback play versus offensive line blame. We know that the quarterback play was not good. This is what baffles me. Again, you recruit and sign, whether it be by transfer when it comes to Tate Martell, but with the other two quarterbacks, directly sign out of high school, 3 4-stars, and Tate Martell was then actually a 5-star. I don't know how, based on watching him throw a football, but 3, 4, 5-star quarterbacks. Take 2/3 of the teams in the Power 5. Take the top 40 teams in the country and put their starting quarterback on the sideline, bring in the backup. And the backup will produce and play better and throw more accurately and make better decisions than what we've seen out of these quarterbacks for the last 2 years, with N'Kosi Perry out of the last 2 years, and of course, Jaron Williams just this year. To me, N'Kosi Perry looks better throwing the ball. He looks more confident. And I'm not necessarily pointing to this game. It's been in some of the other earlier games in which he came in and played much better and slung the ball around. He will throw with confidence and conviction. Jaron Williams, most of the time, looks like he's afraid to make a mistake. That's how he throws the ball. He short arms the ball. He tries to guide the ball, target the ball, aim the ball. He looks like he's afraid to make a mistake. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Mark, it's Reasonable Gump.
Oh, boy. How are you?
You know, so you got to help me out with something here, Mark. I'm kind of confused.
I'll try.
For a second. So I just got off work. I'm actually been working 12-hour shifts the last 8 days here. I just got off and I'm driving home and I see you're on live, so I tune you in to play over my car radio while I'm driving, and I could have sworn I heard you or someone say that Miami got shut out in the walk-on bowl against Louisiana Tech.
Yes. I am going to make a bold statement right now, and it's not so bold, that I don't believe that there will be another shutout in bowl season out of 41 bowls. This is not, I made this statement, Reasonable Gump, when I first came on, that just the other day I was reviewing what I believe the service was, maybe ESPN or somebody printed an article with this being the 150th year of college football, the 150 greatest games of all time. Well, when we go back to the 1920s and 30s, there's a number of 6-0 games and 6-2 games and 10-0 games. But we had one of those just tonight with Miami, not scoring a point, not against Clemson or Ohio State or Alabama circa 2015. They couldn't score a point against Louisiana Tech.
So, Mark, you obviously did a videos on these teams. So, off the top of your head, what was Louisiana Tech's record? Do you know? And are they in the Sun Belt Conference? I'm guessing.
Okay, they are in Conference USA, which is comparable.
USA.
I would say Conference USA is probably the 8th of the 10 conferences, and they finished 6-2 in the conference. They went 9-3 on the regular season. They played one Power 5, and we know how good or not good Texas was this year in going 7-5. Louisiana Tech lost to them by 31 points.
So, Mark, you may remember back earlier in the season, you did one of my favorite videos, mainly just for the title of it. But what was called "Is Miami That Bad?" I think I know you've got a lot on your plate now, but I think the situation demands that you do part 2 of that video.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of Miami fans. You have a remarkably large Miami fan following. I actually didn't even know there were this many Miami fans on the planet, based off watching how many show up to their games. But so I know there's a lot of listening right now, and I really feel sorry for you guys. Not really, because historically your program's kind of got its problems, but man. 14-0 to a Sun Belt team. This is a new low, and I'm not sure what your take is on where you go from here. But I do tend to agree with the people before me saying that the idea of firing Manny Diaz is just ridiculous. Not because I think he isn't a problem right now. I do, but that's not specifically just because of him. It's because he's a new head coach. I think Miami needs to just resign themselves to the thought that, or just the reality that they are a training school right now for a head coach. They don't need to be doing what Tennessee did for 12 or 13 years and hiring and firing head coaches, left and right, just because they can't take them back to the glory days and the 90s. Which is what Miami wants to do. They need to basically let this guy figure out how to get the job done, and that may take 5 years. But I think stability is what Miami needs right now.
I would agree. A coach would have to have generally off the field issues for me to fire just about any coach after one season. And this isn't a situation where Miami is. Let's be real about this. They have much better talent than what the record showed us this year, but they're not loaded with talent. This is not, sometimes I hear from Miami fans that they have some elite team, some elite talent. And they don't. They don't have elite talent. They have talent to that degree in spots. They have top 25 talent.
No, yeah. I mean, before the season started, there were Miami fans trying to tell me that when they, all people could talk about was the Florida game. Miami people be saying that why should we be scared? We have better receivers, we have better O-line, we have better D-backs, we have better safety, we have better special teams. I don't know where all of that came from, but to be honest, Mark, I still don't quite understand why they don't have better talent than they do. I mean, isn't Miami, the city of Miami, supposed to be just an absolute hotbed of talent? I
Sure.
mean, how do they not even? I understand that they can't own the state. I mean, they're competing with Florida and Florida State, and in Miami's case, they're competing with FIU. But you should at least be able to get at least some of the players in your own backyard, the top players in your own backyard. I mean,
when I make the statement that they have top 25 talent, I'm not saying that as a slight. I'm just trying to distinguish that they don't have elite talent, but I'm also underlining that they actually do have top 25 level talent in that range, top 25 to 30 talent, while they compete in a division that has like a bunch of teams like the Pitts of the world and the North Carolinas of the world and the Virginia Techs of the world that have more like top 40 or 50 talent. And for them, I made this statement a number of times that I picked Miami to go 8-4 this season, and I was trying to figure out who they should lose to. I couldn't find teams that they should lose to, but I just knew that they would. And I wasn't even accurate. I even gave them too much credit to go 8-4, even though I got just battered and bruised and bloodied by people just telling me I was an idiot for finding 4 losses for Miami this year.
Yeah,
and I overestimated them.
No, yeah, you did.
They didn't.
Shame on you for that.
They didn't play a good schedule. I wouldn't want to see this team play in the SEC or the Big Ten and play a decent schedule.
I mean, Mark, I'm tempted to say that Miami is about to become the new Tennessee, but here's the thing. Butch Jones's Tennessee would have ran through this modern ACC like a knife through hot butter.
Absolutely, they would have.
And they were Tennessee was, they're not anymore, unfortunately for me, but they were the laughing stock of the SEC for a decade. They would have absolutely demolished this ACC, and Miami can't even beat FIU or Louisiana Tech or Georgia Tech.
Reasonable.
I'm not actually sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying. Yeah, looking back on Butch Jones' tenure, we laugh at it, and Tennessee fans look back on it with disdain, and they certainly underachieved and failed in the end. But they had a back-to-back run where they went 9-4 in one of those years, as you well know. They took an Oklahoma team that went to the college football playoff. They took them to overtime and should have beaten them. They lost 3 games by like 9 points. They would have run roughshod outside of Clemson through this current ACC. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I honestly, Miami was a team that kept undershooting expectations. Or, okay, it's kind of like a limbo bar. So Miami would walk to the bar and they wouldn't be able to get under. They'd hit it, knock it over. They'd be okay, let's raise it up to the next one. Well, they try and walk, and they still can't get under, okay? And they're just going to keep raising the limbo bar until it's all the way up, basically at their head level, and they somehow still managed to hit the bar tonight. I haven't watched the game. I'm not even sure if I need to. It's 14-0 to Louisiana Tech, but this is the. I'm kind of a loss for words. Like I told you, I'm lit. I haven't even changed out of my uniform yet. I'm standing in my apartment right now, trying to. Can't believe that we're having this conversation.
Well, I am obligating myself because this is what I do. I am obligating myself to watch this game later. So I was at work for the first half, and I caught. I would catch like 3 plays here and 3 plays there, and then I came home and I had a couple of records, and so the game was over just about the time that I finished the second record. So I had it on, and so I generally know what happened, but I'm going to subject myself to this game because this is what I do. But late tonight at like 2:00 in the morning, I'm going to watch Miami not be able to score a point against Louisiana Tech, and I'm going to watch every play of the game so I can provide some level of analysis and basically just say what I already know that I will be saying anyway.
Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna let myself enjoy this for the next 5 days. Because if my expectations do come true, I'm going to be pretty miserable after about 5 days from now.
Okay,
but
there aren't many people that join you with that opinion.
Well, all I have to say about that is 2008 and 2013.
Sure.
Yeah, that was it.
Yep.
But anyway, I'm sure you'll do more stuff in the coming days.
Absolutely, I will.
Get to talk to you again.
All right, Reasonable Gum. Thank you so much.
Good night, man.
You too. All right, let's get some Miami fans on here. I apologize. That was Reasonable Gum. And of course, we give access to all college football fans. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
This is Olivier Pita. Landtown is my username on YouTube. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year to you, Mark Rogers, and to your listeners.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Full disclosure, I didn't watch the game, but can I read the record of Miami during the times they had the sanctions in the 90s and then make a quick point?
Absolutely.
Okay. 1995, they went 8-3.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when the sanctions started because that's Butch Davis's first year, and Dennis Erickson was in 94, and they went 10-2. 96, they went 9-3. 97, I think the sanctions were starting to kick in because they went 5-6.
Mm-hmm.
98, they recovered. They went 9-3, and then in 1999 they went 9-4 before the big 2000 year. I watched some of the highlights of those games during those years, and I was blown away by the level of talent and competitiveness and the size of those players. There was a lot of talent on those teams, even though they were going 9-3, 8-3, and the records that I stated to you. Those teams during the sanctions were much better, in my opinion, than what I've seen for this decade. This decade for Miami football was horrendous. It was really bad, and we didn't have. Did we have any sanctions or did we have any scholarship? Oh yeah, under Al Golden we did. We did get in a little bit of trouble this decade,
Mm-hmm.
but that was small compared to what the sanctions we got in the 90s. And those teams would, in my opinion, would blow these teams away. So Butch Davis came with a lot of bravado and a lot of toughness. Are we lacking the grit and the toughness of those teams that we had? Because I don't see much from these players and these teams recently. There's something missing. Anyway, I'll let you go. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks for letting me call in. Thanks for doing this for us, and I hope to keep supporting you.
Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. Thank you so much for joining us in the comments in the live chat.
Bye-bye.
So I think Lance hit on something there, and it's called accountability. Guys like Butch Davis will not let players that aren't capable of running the locker room run the locker room. So what a good coach is able to do is he's able to identify the players that have leadership skills and abilities and influence the locker room, get those players on his side, get them to buy in, then they run the locker room. But he holds the team accountable. A guy like a Butch Davis. I don't know that Manny Diaz has reached that level of status or he knows how to relate to players like that. Being an assistant coach and being a head coach are two different things. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
That was terrible, Mark. I ain't never seen that bad of a performance in my life from a Miami team. I've seen some bad performances. Clemson game just got away from them. UVA, but this is just, they ain't play with no heart and no passion out there, man. I just couldn't understand it. It was pathetic. Matter of fact, let me tell you how bad it was. I fell asleep, and I already had 8 hours of sleep. That's how bad the game was to me.
I hear you. It was awful.
What to say, Mark? What did you say, Mark?
There's not a whole lot to say except for I'm going to make one defense for the team, and that would be that they were missing some valuable players. But a team of Miami's supposed status should be able to miss 4 or 5 players and beat a decent group of 5 team.
I don't know. It's terrible. I mean, I what you're saying. I mean, maybe they hard this one into. You can tell. But I mean, that's when the season first started, you said it too, and I beat the drum all the time about Miami, about how bad I thought they were going to be this year. And I would say this: I don't think Manny Diaz is a good coach, and it's not because I just don't think that he had for a job like Miami or supposedly Miami stature. I don't think that he really fit in. I mean, Matt Brown got rid of him in Texas, and he was with the Mississippi State after that. I mean, I just don't really see how he. It's like when they score a touchdown, they put on these stupid jewels. You're Miami. That turnover chain thing, it was cute, it was fun, it was Miami, but I even heard Bilber say, get rid of it after the first year that they did it. Like, go on and do something else, or take the props out of it, just play football. And I think that's a lot of the problem right there. They're all show. When they were whooping people in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, they didn't need no props. But, they do it all the time, and that's why some of the people dislike them, and that's why some of those other teams go so hard at them. And I just don't see no heart out there, and I don't think Manny's a good coach, man. To be honest with you, and people say get rid of Mark Richt as a play caller. They just don't have the talent. I mean, it's not just Mark Richt's play caller. Y'all just don't. Miami just doesn't have the talent anymore.
Well, I think it's a combination. When you say they don't have the talent to do what? No, they don't have elite talent, not even close to the teams that we talk about all the time. They've got better talent than a 6-6 and now 6-7 football team. They have better talent than that on the roster. If they had a capable coaching staff, you don't think Dabo Swinney and Brent Venables and company could take over that team and not win at least 9 or 10 games pretty easily?
Yeah, but my point is, when me and you started listening to the beginning of the season,
yeah,
Zoe, Cam, all of them said there's no reason why they shouldn't win the conference. I'm like, where's the talent at? Like I said, and I don't like talking bad about kids because they're trying, they're doing their best. But
yeah,
the left tackle, his biggest offer was for the Citadel, and he's for the state of North Carolina. He's for the state of South Carolina and North Carolina, South Carolina, and Clemson, South Carolina didn't offer this kid. So there's got to be there might be talent out there, but it's not great talent. I thought that number 4, the receiver, he's pretty good. Those 3 linebackers, but I just don't get what's wrong with that team, that they can't win more games than what they do. That tight end is good. I mean, yeah, that's talent, but I just don't get it, man. I just don't see how you can be that bad.
Well, when you have one position on the team that's really bad, and that position's offensive line, that is a huge problem. And now, aside from Brad Kaya turning in a couple good years at quarterback, they've had bad quarterback play for a long, long time. So those are the two worst positions to be. You can hide a secondary, you can hide a bad linebacker, you can have a couple elite receivers, and maybe your third and fourth guys aren't really good or whatever. But man, when you don't have a good quarterback and you don't have a good offensive line, my goodness, I think those are the two most important units on the field.
Right. I don't get it, man. That's a terrible damn kick. I mean, these teams are. I mean, I know a lot of people. This ain't when we was coming up. A lot of people don't care about bowl games like what we used to care in the 80s and 70s and 90s. But this is just ridiculous to showing that the ACC is putting up early. Look like they're about to go 0-2.
Yeah, and 0-2 against Louisiana Tech and Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, that's just terrible. I mean, Clemson's going to destroy Ohio State, but I mean, that's not here or there. The rest of the conference is looking terrible. But I mean, I'm just jumping around, Mark. I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
But all right, man, you have a great night.
Thanks, DeAndre. I appreciate the phone call, man. Take care. All right, we'll hang around for a little bit longer, see what you guys have to say. I certainly don't. I hope that there aren't inappropriate comments here in the live chat. We have to deal with that from time to time. I haven't seen any, but again, I am 12 minutes behind the action here. So I'm trying to see what's going on in the live chat and obviously take these phone calls. All right. Talking Miami, Louisiana Tech here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's McD Sports 4. How are you doing?
Hey, McD. I'm doing just fine. What's going on tonight?
I'm busy on calling and talk about this game, the Miami Louisiana Tech game. I watched most of it. I actually watched it in a bar, basically, so I was paying attention to it, kind of. But this is what I see. Miami fans think that they have a quarterback, saying, "Oh, is this guy? Oh, is this guy?" There's an old saying: when you have two quarterbacks, it means you don't have a quarterback. In Miami's case, they have three quarterbacks, which means they really don't have a quarterback. Miami's biggest problem is that they do not have a quarterback. That is their biggest problem more than anything, in my opinion. If they have a quarterback, I think there will be more confidence with the fans and more confidence in the coaches and everything. I think that's the biggest problem. Not that they don't have an O-line, because I've seen teams with bad O-lines still win 8, 9, 10 games every year. But Miami's biggest problem is that they don't have a quarterback.
True. I would go quarterback over offensive line. If I could have, if I'm Miami right now, and you said, okay, Mark, you get one player, I'll take obviously the quarterback. I'll take, fill in the blank. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields on down the line, Joe Burrow. I would pick out a quarterback that would play well with a bad offensive line. But if you said, Mark, you can address a second unit, it would be offensive line. That there would be no doubt in my mind. I think that those units are so much worse than every other unit on the field, both sides of the ball for Miami. It's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's Miami's biggest problem. I mean, I watched this game. I cannot believe they got shut out. I thought Louisiana Tech was going to win this one, but I didn't think it was going to be a shutout. And Miami went 0-2 this year against the Conference USA since they lost to FIU, who's also a Conference USA team. This is absolutely a disgraceful performance. Rutgers could have beat this. The Miami team we saw tonight Rutgers would have beat them, in my opinion. That's how bad it was. I'm serious.
I'm being serious too. I don't think that Rutgers would have beaten Miami tonight. But I get your point. I do get your point.
I mean, my Terps would have definitely beat them. That I can guarantee you. But it's disappointing. And the thing is, like, I called earlier that I think it was Reasonable Gump that said he used to call Tennessee the laughing stock when they had Butch Jones. Tennessee, and he's right. Tennessee would run through this ACC at minimum 9-3, and people were bashing me. Because I know people were bashing you when you had Miami going 8-4. I had them going 9-3. People were bashing me, and I said worst case scenario 7-5. I was not thinking 6-6.
Yeah.
So I mean, it looks like Dan Enos is going to be let go. I think that's a bad idea because I think one of the other callers, I agree with what he says. I forgot which one it says that Miami needs stability. They need to keep this coaching staff for at least another year. I believe in giving a head coach 3 years. Coordinators, if it gets very bad, let them go. But I think they need to keep this head coach. I think they need to keep this coaching staff for at least 2020 and 2021 because just with stability, maybe in year 3 or maybe even next year, they could really grow and maybe they'll turn around and have an 8-9 win season. But that's my opinion, and I heard Dan Enos is supposedly Michigan State is looking to hire him. If that's the case, that's good news for me. But all I'm going to say is Miami's biggest problem is quarterback, I think. I think that's why I came away with this game. And it really sucks because Miami, and the ACC in general, because Pitt's losing 10-0, the ACC is garbage outside of Clemson. And I think there's questions about Clemson. So we'll see what happens. But thanks for taking my call, Mark, and go Terps.
Thanks, McD. Yeah, so people that watch me on a regular basis, you know what I've said about the ACC all year. And this is not ACC hating. This has nothing to do with me hating the ACC. I don't hate any conference. I certainly don't hate the ACC. In 2016, the ACC was arguably the best conference. I was stating after 2016 that I still felt it was still my viewpoint that the SEC was the best conference, but that the ACC outplayed the SEC in 2016. So when the conference performs, I will do my very best to be analytical and fair and look at the results. The results in the ACC right now is that Clemson is 2-0 against the Power 5. That would be wins against South Carolina and Texas A&M. The rest of the conference now this is unbelievable. Well, no, it's not unbelievable because the ACC is this bad. The ACC is 2-15 now. Well, I guess we can't even count this game. Nor the Miami loss to FIU, nor the North Carolina loss to App State, nor we could go down the line. There's a few other ones. We can't even count those games because they're not against the Power 5. Okay, so I stand corrected by myself that the ACC is still 2-14 other than Clemson, 4-14 overall against the Power 5. 4-14. Somebody has a super chat contribution. Thank you so much, Jay Wade. Someone asked in the chat earlier, who do you think could be a good offensive coordinator that may be available to us? So that's a great question. I don't have anybody off the top of my head, but I think developing the quarterback is essential. So they should have started this process a long time ago, not after losing this game. When it became apparent that Jaron Williams was not developing, that N'Kosi Perry had not developed, and that the play calling was pretty bad. And again, I made the statement a few weeks ago that I think play calling is overrated. That doesn't mean it's not important. It is important. I just think that people fall back on the play calling's awful because the plays aren't working. Sometimes the players aren't executing the plays. But there should have been a brain trust within the Miami sanctum at that point months ago that was thinking, okay, who could possibly be available to us that can develop quarterbacks, who has a track record of developing quarterbacks. I would scour all 130 FBS schools and coaching staffs and look at resumes and track records of guys who have taken quarterbacks and consistently developed quarterbacks. That would be number one. That would be even more important to me than a play caller. Much more important to me, a guy who has developed quarterbacks. And obviously, you've got a quarterback coach, but the offensive coordinator has a hand in that. Every situation, every coaching staff dynamic is different when it comes to responsibilities from the offensive coordinator, the head coach, and the quarterback's coach in dealing with that. And then you've got a passing game coordinator, run game coordinator, etc. All right, I'm going to clean up these comments. I'm going to try to make sure that I don't miss anything relevant here in the comments section. I'm about 10 minutes behind, but we've got Eastern Michigan taking on Pitt. We've got the ACC going down right now at 10-0. This game's far, far, far from over. So I'm certainly not, it's 10-3 now. So I'm certainly not chalking this up as an ACC loss, but it doesn't look good right now as a 11 or 12-point favorite that Pitt is losing by a touchdown to Eastern Michigan. And I fully expect Pitt to come back and win this game, but I did take Eastern Michigan in the points in this one, as I did take Louisiana Tech in the points, but I also took Louisiana Tech to win straight up. So you certainly can check out my predictions for the rest of bowl season and the college football playoff games at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, at our Voice of College Football community. The link is in the description section of any of the videos. And way beyond that, folks, is the community we're building and the exclusive live stream that's available to you per request each and every week. So what this is that you can come on to me. So imagine all the people that called tonight, and there were many more on the line. The offer is out there for you to come on like a guest, show your face, and talk college football with me. I thought it was a great suggestion by about 20 or 25 of you, and therefore that option is available to you there on Patreon on our Voice of College Football community. All right. Anything else? I think I've hit the end of the line in the comments section. I'm going to apologize to Cheryl in particular. She had made some comments about some rude and unnecessary comments made to her. I have not seen those, but I got to think that they were there. So one last time in the live chat concerning protocol and decency would be trash talk all you want. Talk about people's teams all you want. Trash talk all you want. Please stay away from profanity. If there's some profanity, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to edit or kick people out for some level of profanity, although I don't like to see it. And you have to understand that YouTube tags me. They come after me if they detect profanity, and they do it very easily. They have all the technology in play to do that easily. I believe Cheryl's talking about last night's live stream. Okay, because I didn't see it tonight. Okay. My apologies, Cheryl. You shouldn't have to put up with that. And then also stay away from the hot button topics that we all know. Personal attacks on people. Please do that. I don't want to do what I had to do last night, and I blocked I don't know how many people last night. But thank you so much for joining us. Yes, I will be back on again. I'm going to watch this Eastern Michigan Pitt game. I will have some live analysis or some instant analysis of that game. I don't know if I'm going to go live again tonight because we've got a loaded weekend. Whew. It really takes off beginning now. Friday, a ton of games. Saturday, a ton of games. All through next week, through New Year's and the day after. Tons of games every day because I will be here doing live streams and instant analysis for you. right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Thank you so much for the kind comments. We had a number of people call for the first time that have watched for a long time. And again, I appreciate the encouragement. James Scott has an idea. You should have a Mark Rogers award for best plays, best effort on a play, maybe even have the community submit their favorite plays of the year. That's a good call. What we will have at the end of the season are the Mark Rogers TV Voice of College Football Conference Player of the Year Awards. So there will be an ACC Offensive Player of the Year Award, Defensive Player of the Year Award. Both sides of the ball, offense and defense. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, Player of the Year Awards, which will be announced here, and we will discuss, and we will profile those particular players, and I will contact them on social media and let them know of the great honor that they just received in being named Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, Conference X Offensive Player or Defensive Player of the Year. All right. We've been on for a long time, 1 hour and 30 minutes. Actually, that's not a long time for us, but got much football to watch and to analyze and prepare you for this weekend here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We will see you next time.